American-made products are the name of the game for me and the Western Huntsman. I really will go out of my way and spend more money to buy things that are American-made and keeps jobs and things like that right here in the United States of America. That brings us to Vantage Point Archery. If you haven't listened yet, wherever you listen to your podcast as, go find episode 201, Vantage Point Archery with Ryan Corkwell and Jeff Stringer. Those are the founders of Vantage Point Archery, and these are great dudes. They'll give you a lot of the insight and information that you need on picking out your broadhead for this season. Don't wait any longer, guys, because season is going to be here before we know it. It's almost here. I am going to be shooting the VPA Omega with bleeders for this elk season. They have the single bevels, 2-blade, 3 blades. These are great broadheads. They're American-made. They're tried and true. They're tested. I've been shooting them all summer. Really impressed with this company, and I couldn't be happier having them as a sponsor on this show. Happy to partner with them. Thanks, guys. This whole dive into copper bullets has been fascinating for me, and you guys should check it out. Go to barnesbullets.com and have a look at the website and check out these bullets. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I've found with them. But what they talk about is, like since 1989, they've been engineering the most technologically advanced hunting bullets and ammunition on the planet. And the more I shoot these suckers, the more I tend to believe it. They're manufactured here in the USA. In fact, their facility is down by my dad's ranch in central Utah. And what I've found is they really do create a little bit better penetration. They expand on impact, so the blood trails are quite a bit larger, and they do a little bit more damage, putting that animal down a little, faster. It's a way. In fact, on their website it says produce massive wound channels even in dense, thick-skinned game. And that is true. I found that to be true for sure. Check them out, and check out the episode I did with Barnes. So it's 191 with Mitch Cookson, and he gets into great detail about how these bullets are designed and why they're better. Definitely worth some consideration. Go to barnesbullets.com, have a look for yourself, make a decision, and let me know what you think. See ya. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive, and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the Broken Tine studio right here in Northwest Montana, and brought to you by Eastman's Hunting Journals. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. The intro music was playing, and I took a sip of coffee, and I thought I was going to gag, so bear with me a little bit. But this week, I've got a buddy of mine in the studio, right here, actually in the Broken Tine studio, that I met through another buddy who is the guy that's here today is a fellow. He owns an outfitting outfit. How do you say that? Outfitter here locally, and he was a huge help to me when on that big mountain lion hunt I was on earlier this year. And we go to church together. He's just been. I'm pretty proud to call him a new friend of mine, and his name is Josh. I'm going to try to pronounce your name, and you're going to correct me, okay?
Go for it.
Josh Merschat.
Merschat.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't even close. I wasn't even close. I never have easy names on this dang show, man. It's always like, I never have like Smith or something like that.
It comes from German descent.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're German?
Yes.
So my wife is German. Her maiden name is Yule, which is owl in German.
Okay.
So anyway, learn something every day, right?
Yeah, I found out I'm like 93% German, and that's like crazy to be that predominantly German, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. That I guess it could be, especially out west. You know, it's pretty prominent out back on the eastern seaboard or whatever you call it. But no, this is cool, man. I'm actually really excited to get you on because so for those of you listening, he owns Waypoint Outfitters. and I'll have like his, website and Instagram and all that in the show notes. But Waypoint is up here in my neck of the woods, and it's really close to where I guide over at Elk Creek. And Josh, the cool thing about this is you think that like all these outfitters, and we're going to talk about this, all these outfitters are supposed to be like nemesis or something.
Yeah.
But like between us and you guys, I'm like friends with everybody.
Yeah.
And I like it because we help each other. And again, we'll talk about that later, but let's start by having you kind of kick us off with who you are, your background, and we'll just kind of take it from there.
Well, I'm originally from Pennsylvania, West Virginia border. Our farm, the one corner of the field was the property between almost all three states came together right there. So most of our, let's say, childhood did in West Virginia. I mean, so that's where I would say I'm from, but our residence was in Pennsylvania. Our business, everything was in West Virginia. I grew up in a very hunting family. My grandparents started a sporting goods store the year that I was born, and we had an indoor bow range, and we sold firearms. My pap was a gunsmith. So that always has been around my life, like hunting and the industry of it. My grandfather was a guide. My dad was a guide and an outfitter. So it wasn't I don't know the word, let's say, it wasn't unlikely to not be a guide if you knew the people around us, because everybody was a guide somewhere, a lot in Maine and a lot in actually this part of Montana.
Really?
Yeah.
And how did you end up in Montana?
Well, so that's a little bit of a story, but they bombed the Twin Towers whenever I was a junior in high school, and I was dead certain that I was going to the Marine Corps.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I had signed every piece of paper that I was allowed to sign without my parents' consent, and my mom wasn't not having it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
She wasn't on board?
No, not at all. So they waived guide school in front of me and told me to take 1 year to think about it, and here I am.
Oh, wow. So you were like raring to go.
Yeah.
That's interesting because we could have ended up in the. So I was in the Marine Corps during 9/11, and so in fact I was at 29 Palms, California, doing what is called a combined arms exercise on the day 9/11 happened, and we didn't even know anyway, not to get us off or derailed there, but that we probably could have ended up in the same platoon or company or battalion or something like that,
Yeah, a lot of the kids in my grade, I remember I was sitting in the library when they bombed the towers, and everybody was gung-ho to go to battle. You know what I mean? It was like watching a movie or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, we sat there and we watched them planes fly in, and it was crazy. I got goosebumps over me right now thinking about it. But a lot of my friends, they went Afghanistan and Iraq. Kind of glad I didn't go. It's a big regret that I didn't, but my future worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. So you went to guide school, and then is that what brought you to Montana? Was guide school or after guide school?
Nope, guide school. I was 2 weeks out of graduated high school. My best friend and I loaded up a truck, and we headed her to Montana.
Really?
Yep.
Was it the Elk Creek guide school?
Nope. So Jerry Mousen he was one of the bigger outfits in this area, in the early 2000s. And that's who I went to guide school for. And Speed, who, goes to our church, he was, one of the guide school teachers. He was the head guide at Mousen's.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's how I know Speed very well.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, you could learn a lot from that guy.
Oh, he's a book of knowledge.
Man, he really is a book of knowledge. And he knows so many people throughout the country, like outfitters, guides. He's just he's a wealth of information and just like a network. He's got what is he, like 78?
No, I believe
80 years old.
I believe he's 82.
And that's even cooler because he can still get up in the mountains. Like he's not, like he could go. You could tell most 82-year-old men, you don't see them moving around like Speed does.
No,
he's pretty good.
Tough as a pine knot. He broke his back last year, and then his family was mad because he went on an antelope hunt, and they wouldn't let him do anything with the antelope with a broken back. Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that. So you came out here to guide school, and did you start guiding for that same outfit for a while, or?
Yeah. So that's funny. I actually got thrown to the wolves the first year I was out, which if you were one of my clients, that was probably scary, but we got some animals killed. As most outfits do, a lot of them, they overbook and circumstances happen. And outfitter came to me, pulled me to the side. Well, let me back up. So we finished guide school, and he hired my friend and I straight on for their outfit instead of us finding another place to work for. He kept us right on. We started in hunting season, like the second week of archery. He's like, guess what? I don't have a guide that's showing up, and you're going to have to guide. I never even called an elk in, managed to kill a bull.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Did you call him in?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
How'd you call him in? Like cow calls or bugles?
Oh, they just told me to imitate everything that it made, the bull sounds that the bulls make, just mimic him back and try to piss him off. And it works to a certain extent, but I had no idea what was going on. I mean,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
actually, you guys got it done in that.
Well, that was the glory days of this country, though.
Yeah.
The end of the glory days. That was before the wolves started coming in, and a lot of things. But yeah, it's kind of fortunate to have that opportunity, but kind of scary.
Yeah, sure.
As an outfitter now, that is the worst way to go about doing something. I mean, sending a greenhorn in with clients that paid money, you're pretty much stealing from them.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And I imagine when you look at like outfitters and their reviews online and stuff, the bad ones, you can almost tell by the way that hunting client wrote it. They went out with some greenhorn guide that didn't know the country or didn't know what he was doing.
Yep, it happens a lot.
Yeah. So where'd you end up from there?
I stayed on for that place for a while, and so the guy that I bought Waypoint, it was Northwest Montana Outfitters, and then we turned it into Waypoint. But he was one of the guides there, and he was in the process of buying that business. And I worked straight through for Mousen, and then I worked for Reggie Carper, and that's the man that I bought the business from.
Oh, gotcha. For years then, because you're talking.
Yep, I worked for him off and on for a lot of years. There was some things that I didn't like. They did some things that were unprofessional, and I just didn't like. So I worked for different outfits over the years, which I think made me better in end result. I've worked in Colorado. I've worked in Maine a lot, and Montana.
Yeah. How long have you owned Waypoint now?
This will be 5 years.
5 years. So, and I'm curious, where'd you come up with the name Waypoint?
So my dad had worked for an outfitter in the North Maine woods, and we had almost bought that outfit. Mm-hmm. And I was going to operate it. I was going to own it and run it. And we had come up with that name then, and it just transferred over to this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So it does have some history.
Yeah, it does.
I thought it kind of did. I thought it would. Yeah. Just a name. It's a cool name. Sounds like something that you might have some history with. In Maine, you were doing like a bunch of bear hunt, deer hunt type stuff, or?
So I run hounds for the outfitter.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I took a pack of hounds up, and we would run bears.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do a lot of the baiting. We call it being a master baiter. It doesn't take a lot of skill to pack a 5-gallon bucket down through the brush. I call them bear factories also. But, it's...
You do realize I'm a prolific Idaho bear baiter, right?
My dad still, so I say all this, and I in joking, I give my dad a bunch of grief. He still guides in Maine.
Yeah.
I'm friends with a pal of outfitters up there. It's just a different way of doing business than we are. We're selling an experience, and they're pretty much selling a success. It's a little different.
Oh, totally. And that's kind of, I had a buddy come out from North Carolina, my buddy Kevin Estella. He came out from North Carolina last year, and I'm like, go ahead and get an Idaho bear tag because we could bait over there. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing that for a long time. I'm pretty good at it. And I'm like, it's almost guaranteed, man. It's almost guaranteed you're going to get a bear. He comes out, and we spent, I think, 4 or 5 days the first time and another 4 or 5 days in the fall. We didn't see one single bear on either one of my bait sites, which is rare. I mean, no, that's not true. One did come in one morning and he came behind me. And when I spun around, he ran off, but other than that, it was crickets all season. But I like the way you put that you sell the experience versus, because, and we've talked about this, you and I, because we go over and work out with Pastor Jim and all that. And I like the way that you put that from the standpoint that I think that sets the right expectation for people hiring an outfitter, is that the experience is what's important, not selling success, because success isn't always achieved. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So if you, let's just go with elk. I mean, if you think that you're going to go on an elk hunt and be successful every time that you go elk hunting, you haven't been elk hunting very much. I can tell that instantly right off the bat. It's a 1 every 10 years if you do the stats that you kill a bull on public land, general purpose tags. It's a hard animal to kill. So you got to come with the right frame of mind or you can't enjoy it. If that tag is burning a hole in your pocket so bad and you're so worried about going back and drinking coffee with the guys that you're working with and they're going to judge you whether you're a good hunter or a bad hunter off of killing an animal, it's just the success isn't there. I think Fred Bear, he used to say that you need to base it off the experience and not the kill. And he was very good at a lot of his sayings and things like that. You can go back and look at them, and we've just lost that as hunters. I mean, it's about blood and glory. You got to out there killing. It's only about the kill.
And where do you think that comes from?
Social media.
Social media?
Yeah, I do. I think it started with TV hunting, and it is slowly just ramped itself up to where it's fake.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
No, it is. We talk about that on my... Hey, don't be shy on this show, man.
Okay, good, because I got to watch. I get blasted on sometimes when I say
do too.
Stuff so bluntly.
Every episode that comes out, I get a whole handful of cute little messages from people that I irritated. And that's okay, because that, you know what that means is that we're moving the needle, and I think that you're right, because that mentality, growing up, I grew up in the I'm not much older than you, but a little bit, and growing up in the 80s and 90s, going out hunting back then, there wasn't this feeling of it being a competition, with the exception of if you were, going up one side of the mountain and you saw somebody in orange way up on the top that beat you up there. Yeah, it's not that wasn't irritating, or that the units didn't get crowded sometimes, or, that side of the competitive aspect. But what it wasn't was who killed the biggest bull, who killed the biggest buck, who's killed the most bucks. That wasn't really a thing back then. It was like this shared experience of positivity, if that makes sense. And hunters were like on the same page. And I think that social media has, and I don't know if it's deliberate or not, but by design, social media drives this wedge between hunters, and it pits people against each other. Sitka versus Kuyu, rifle versus bow, or 6.5 Creedmoor versus 300 Win Mag. All these things, and I've said this stuff on the show a million times. That comes from social media. That did not exist. And I'm not just throwing rocks at social media for the sake of throwing rocks, because I use social media and I think it has some good things. It has some great advantages. Like for me with a podcast, I could post up an episode and I'll post you and I had this conversation, right? And I can get it out to thousands of people really fast and share it and help this show grow. I can use it to keep in touch with we were talking about the Marines. That's how I stay in touch with my Marine buddies. I learn a lot from hunters that are way better than me on social media. And then I've also come to the realization of who to avoid, because they're full of crap, and they're being phonies and they're being fakes, and in a lot of cases they're scamming people, and that comes from social media. So I guess what I'm going, it's like this big tree of fruit, and you start shaking branches, and some of the fruit's good and some of the fruit's bad. And you have to be wise enough with social media to pick up only the good fruit. And I don't know if this is making sense. I'm getting real philosophical here.
No, it 100% is. I can even take it farther than that. It's almost fake food. It looks really good on the outside, but it's no nutritional value.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with it. There's no, you don't have to have a track record. You can come up with a couple good pictures and post them, and they don't know what these people do on their daily lives. They might have this persona on social media that they are a mountain warrior out there just killing it.
Mm-hmm.
And really they go about 2 weeks a year.
And they take like 3,000 pictures in that 2-week time frame to last them all year.
Yeah.
Because that's my problem with Instagram or something. I don't have enough. I don't take enough pictures.
So, and then I think this is where the big fall comes in. So you have people that are following people that they probably shouldn't be following, because that guy is more or less narrating the story that's false in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And we've turned away. So we've went to hunting companies and all this and that, and we look at them on social media and we go away from guides and outfitters. And I think that's where this next stage of hunting as a whole, we need to turn back to people that have some knowledge in it. And I believe that's through hunting and guides. Like, look at, I'll use this for instance, because I'm rambling on also, is let's use a mechanical broadhead. That thing is, I'm sorry if there's any sponsors or anything like that on the show.
Nope.
Okay, so anything that has moving parts is not going to help on a hunt. You know what I mean? So they're trying to push this product, and you got famous people. Oh, this broadhead works great. In reality, a flint point could kill better than a rage broadhead because it's heavier, a velocity, everything. So
there's no failure points.
Yeah, and we've gone away from things that actually count and matter, and I don't know where I'm going with this. I've kind of lost it.
It makes perfect sense because I know exactly what you're saying. So I have, as a policy, like I'm super strict about who can sponsor this show. Yep. They don't sponsor me as a hunter. They sponsor the show because I'm not a good enough hunter to have hunting sponsors, right? Nobody's going to send me, free gear or something because I'm a great hunter. I'm not. I'm like an average hunter with an abnormal interest in talking about it. And so, my strict policy is I have to believe in it, use it, and truly trust the story behind the company for it to be a sponsor. That means I don't have mechanical broadheads because I've never used them. I've never had them. I don't want to start. And there might be some out there that are great because, you'll have people that'll write in after this and they'll be like, no, mechanical broadheads will change your life. They work great. Good for you.
They work great if you have a long draw length, and there's a lot of things that compel into having that. They work great, but if you don't.
That's the difference. We're not talking smack about people. I don't care if you want to use a mechanical broadhead. For me, I use the Vantage Point broadhead from VPA the Omega broadhead from Vantage Point. It's because it's what I know. It's the new version
because it works
of an old flint, carved out broadhead from 2,000 years ago.
Yep.
And so I that's what I do. That's what I do. It works and it won't fail. There's no failure points.
Yeah, so I agree. So back to what I was saying there, kind of getting at, is people that spend a large portion of time in the woods, and which are guides and outfitters. And I'm not trying to push like the guides or this great people, but they know more than just trying to sell a product. And that's what's happening with the hunting industry. It is selling a product instead of selling an experience and getting out there and try to share it, have this good experience. Nope. To have that good experience, you have to buy this, and then the good experience will happen. And then people are just constantly chasing buying something, and it makes the hunting industry go around and pays the bills for you and I. But I think we're missing the boat as hunters. Yeah.
I think there could be too much of a reliance on there is way too much marketing. And I'm like, I'm of the opinion, I'm very much a realist. It's the nature of the game. And it doesn't matter if it's hunting or football or, quilt sewing or whatever you do, whatever those ladies do with, those clubs. It doesn't matter what it is. There's an industry behind it, right?
Yep.
And so I, as a realist, I expect that. But I can't get on board with like, oh, every single season I need a new bow because this new and better improved version of it came out. I'm just not like that. I can't get on board with every season I have to replace my pack. I know guys that do that. Every season they get a new pack. These things are like $500, $600, $700, $800, and I'm sorry, I've had the same ones for several years now. In fact, I'm about to actually. That wouldn't be applicable here. I am going to do a pack episode for School of September, just so you guys listening know, of day pack contents, because that's been the big request lately. So, anyway.
Gear has come, oh my goodness.
It's different, huh?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah, I've been doing this for 21 years this year, and yeah, I used to wear woolies every day.
I used to wear cotton socks, and I'd go miles in cotton socks, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm not that the old wool didn't do its job. It served its purpose for a lot of years, but the new Stone Glacier, Kafaru is even starting to make some stuff. QU, all that's amazing gear. Amazing.
It's super technical. Like, you can really create a hunting package out of your gear systems, from your rain gear to your pack, and it all like ties together. And it is.
Kit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your whole kit, your kit setup can be so specific to like hunting in Northwest Montana versus hunting in Eastern Montana or Arizona or something, and we just didn't have that back in the day.
No.
And so there's some good that comes out of that, but there's always going to be an industry behind that, and I think that's kind of what we were talking. I have a tendency to get us off track. So just smack me.
And then I ramble on, and then I can't remember where I was going with it.
Well, we were talking about the downfall of what social media and what these so-called influencers have done to the industry and the sport and the lifestyle that is hunting. I never thought in a million years, if you would have asked me 10 years ago or 20 years ago, that I'd be doing like this podcast where I get paid to have advertisers on it because the show somehow grew to that extent. I would have never believed you, because I didn't know that even existed. I always thought I was going to be like a fly fishing guide or something,
Yeah.
And turns out I do that. But it turns out that's really...
It's the new cave paintings.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love the storytelling behind what like social media and podcasts and YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff can produce. But I hate the negativity that can come out of it. Like you said, that fruit that's not edible.
Yeah.
And in fact, in a lot of ways, a lot of that fruit is, it's like, what's that chemical they've been putting in foods that they determine like really causes cancer? It's like that. It's like eating that
30 or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. It's like that, and that's what a lot of hunters. And I think that I want to ask you this: what do you think, like in terms of social media? I keep pointing at the computer like it's going to answer our question here. In terms of social media and YouTube and podcasts and all that kind of stuff, what do you think really misguides hunters that are specifically kind of new to it, trying to get into it? Like, do you think it develops unrealistic expectations, which I kind of know the answer to that, but I want to hear like you describe that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So as a new guy getting into it, everybody's got to have a hero, or they pick someone in the hunting industry, or if you're playing sports or anything, and they just try to nerd out, and I think they try to, everything that guy has, they try to do that. And if that guy's killing a bunch of elk, only big elk, then that killing a big elk is the bar that you have to meet.
Yeah.
So, and I think they just feel inferior.
Mm-hmm.
And that buying all this gear, that helps them get some credibility. So if they have all the right stuff, that they can fake it before they make it, let's say.
Yeah.
Is that answering? Is that kind of?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think you nailed it from the standpoint of that gear can really make you look cool on Instagram. But at the end of the day, that's not what that's not what notches tags.
If you take the cell phone and throw it back in the truck, you'll find out most people don't go 5 miles from the pickup.
No, they don't. I think most people would get lost.
Yeah.
I think that's a lost art in itself. Technology has destroyed the internal compass and the internal GPS that kind of is built into all of us.
Yeah. I've hunted some of this country a lot, and a few years ago, I lost my cell phone in an area that I've hunted 50 times. I got this weird feeling came over me like, oh no, I don't have my phone. What am I going to do? I'm like, I'm going to walk over there the same as I have the last 50 times and go through this hunt just like I've always done. And but it just threw this wrench in what I was used to.
It blows my mind. I think about like back when I was a teenager and I wasn't even hunting, but, you know, my dad lived in this small town and I'd go visit dad and cause my parents weren't together, you know, and, I'd load up this old pack that I got at the Army Navy surplus store. You know, it was like a old, Alice pack from Vietnam or something like that, you know, and I'd put like, you know, canned SpaghettiOs in it and a tent and a sleeping bag and, a can opener and like a couple of bottled waters or whatever. And I would hike for miles up this, drainage that was outside of this town that my dad lived in. Any of you listening in, Utah, I'm talking about Ephraim, Utah, and there's a hidden little canyon that I used to hike up. And the point was I'd like to go up and watch, there was like monster bucks back then in the foothills. You didn't even have to get high for these giant mule deer. And so I just wanted to go see them. And I didn't even know why. I obviously I loved hunting. I went hunting all the time, but I just loved to go see the deer. And I would go alone. And I'm 12, 13 years old. And I'd hike 5-6 miles up this drainage. This was back before anybody even knew what a cell phone was, you know, and I always wonder, like, I would not let my kids do that today. Like, I don't think I would of course I have girls, maybe it'd be different, but I'm a protective dad. But think about that difference and like how hunting has evolved from that standpoint where we had this, self-reliant mentality of we could go into the backcountry and we knew we were confident enough to get ourselves back to the truck versus today where like, I'm like you, man, I worry like if my, I'm saying like way too much. If my battery were to die on my cell phone while I'm out there, sometimes I wonder, I'm like, man, if that happens, I might be in trouble. Am I going to be able to find my way back to the truck? I know I can, but it's still something that mentally I'm kind of handicapped because I've been so dependent on like Onyx.
Yep.
You know?
Well, when I first started guiding, we would go and you would get maps laminated.
Yeah.
You'd get down to Walmart and get them laminated, and then you'd put them on a carabiner and throw them in your backpack, and whichever hunt you were doing that day, you'd flip out and get to that and do all your triangulating. Now, I was fortunate growing up. I grew up in bear hunting family, and we run hounds a lot. And let's say the bear god from our area, he's like a legend, and he was a surveyor. Mm-hmm. So he kind of always was very technical in his maps and things like that. And I always helped. I would go and do things with him and he always was showing me. So I was always used to orientating maps with running the dogs because the old telemetry system, you would have, it was a beeper, like you would see on National Geographic with them spinning that big wire deal around.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you would get out and the dogs had tracking collars on them and that thing would beep. And it would throw a switch and it would make the beep louder when you were pointed in the right direction. So then you would get a map compass bearing, lay your map down, orientate it, draw a line, and then judging by the distance of which the beeps were, knowing the telemetry system, you could tell where the dogs are at. So every time, so
that's crazy.
You were running compasses all day. Hound hunting.
I wondered about that, Josh, because like when we were out hunting that day, I got that lion and you were out there, or the time Rob and I took my daughter up and she got that lion. I thought about that. Like the dogs are miles from us. We can't hear them anymore. They're 3 draws over. They've got something treed. And I wondered how the old timers did that, the old houndsmen, how they figured out where the heck their dogs were.
Well, back in the day, you'd have 30 dogs and you just turn them loose and gather them up throughout the year. But with the wildlife telemetry systems and that, which we call them in the hound world, the beeper collars. And and then we got the GPSs, and that's changed the game.
Oh, it totally has. It's crazy that the GPS can tell you when it's treated a cat. Yeah. It's like, what? How does it know that?
Yeah, so as soon as the dog stays stationary for 10 seconds, it'll show treed.
Oh, really? Is that what it is?
Yep, and it'll show on point if they're stationary for 3 to 5 seconds.
Wow. So, by the way, is my dog bugging you?
Not one bit.
Okay. Yeah, I know. He's like, every once in a while, I feel like I'm kicking him, but he has to lay right under our feet instead of behind us or something. What's the difference between running hounds against cat versus bear? Is there even a big
there's
difference?
A huge difference. I'm just trying to think how the intensity level on a bear chase is way higher.
Why?
A lot of times it takes physical contact to put a bear in a tree.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
On a lion, the lion doesn't even know that it's being pursued a lot of times until it hears the dogs. And then that chase, once it's jumped, is usually only a mile. And there doesn't have to be physical contact for the lion to get in a tree. Just the dogs putting pressure on it. The lion knows that it's being overtaken, will put it into a tree.
Back a couple months ago, I did an episode with Brandon Maddox, who is the founder and owner of Silencer Central. You should listen to that episode. It's episode 197. I love this company. I love this brand, and I love the American-made product that Silencer Central produces. I use the Banish 30 on my hunting rifle, and if you guys follow me on Instagram and you saw that video I put together, you'll see that it's not like what Hollywood portrays it as. It's not like it silences the rifle down into nothing. But it makes a huge difference. Like, my ears don't ring when I shoot. The animals don't know where the shot is coming from. It disorients the sound. And Silencer Central makes it super easy for you guys. Jump on to silencercentral.com and pick one out. You could ship your rifle to them. They'll thread your barrel. They'll ship it back. This is like a 10-day process. And the ATF process is shortened significantly. It's like down to 48 hours or less. It's the best time ever to get a silencer on your weapon, and you should check it out because it really is a game changer. SilencerCentral.com is where you can find them, or you can call 866-891-4494, and they're happy to answer questions. It's crazy. They actually have people that answer their phone. Again, guys, go to SilencerCentral.com. It's one of my favorite sponsors out there. These guys are just absolutely world-class with these world-class products, and I can't recommend putting a silencer on your hunting rifle enough. Save your ears, disorient the sound in case you need another shot. I mean, it's a game changer, folks. Check it out.
Some bears do not have that mentality. They would rather fight than flight. And
interesting.
They will get it on.
Huh. So bears run a lot further than the cats do?
Yeah. As a jump track, you can get outrun by bears.
Really?
80, 100-pound bears can run all day and not tire out.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And they'll smoke dogs out. And especially this country's rough. And the country that I grew up in is very rugged also.
Is it?
Yeah.
Are you talking Maine or West
Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 5,000-foot mountains. It was a wilderness area where I grew up.
The Appalachian?
Yep.
Did I pronounce it right?
We call it Appalachian, but...
Appalachian?
Okay. Appalachian, that's what the Discovery Channel would call
it. I always feel like I'm getting judged when I mispronounce Appalachian or Appalachian or whatever.
Yeah, and they are some hillbillies where I'm from.
Oh, I lived in North Carolina, man. That's where I was stationed in the Marines, and I used to go over there all the time because coastal North Carolina is super flat. Yeah. And I was like, I was uncomfortable the first year I was there. I was not used to not seeing mountains in the distance. And so I'd drive over to the west and cruise through those kind of the foothills of the Appalachian. Did I say it right?
Yep.
And the Smoky Mountains, all those areas. So getting back to what you were saying, kind of bringing that all together is kind of interesting. One of my favorite trail cam sequences I ever got was I had a bear bait in Idaho. When I lived over there, I still have a couple bear sites over there, but now I have to get a dang non-resident tag. But anyway, I had a camera on a bear site, right? And it was an active bait site, so there were bears hitting it, whatever. But one morning, I get this. I go up and check, and I'm pulling up all the different pictures of bears and whatnot. But this one morning, it shows this great big bear coming trucking across my bait site. And like 5-6 minutes later, here comes a hound. And then like 2 minutes later, here comes 2 more hounds. And then like a minute later, here comes another hound. And then probably 20 minutes later, here comes the houndsman behind him. And it was such a cool sequence because you just don't like the bear goes the way the bear goes.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me how closely a hounds can dial in the trail of the bear and just stay right on it. And then that houndsman just following up right behind him. I'll bet you he got that bear, because the hounds were so close to that bear.
So a good way to like think about that. So if just the intensity level, so that bear he knew he was being chased by those hounds.
Oh yeah. He was trucking.
And he's going to go until he can't go no more. And then he's probably going to fight a little bit if he's got that mentality, or he'll climb. Think of a lion hunting. Think of your house cat just sneaking around, in and out, backtracking. So those dogs have to do so much more work to follow that track, rather than a bear. Once it's kind of got something on its mind, it's going. They usually don't meander and wander like a lion. And a female lion is even much more. Think of your wife going into a grocery store.
Yeah, she's all over the place.
Yeah, and the dogs have to follow that. Once the track's jumped, they're like sharks. Think of a blood trail in the water and how a shark will make an S pattern. And once it hits that, it just hooks back left, hits the blood line, and then hooks back right. And it knows that it keeps hitting that, and it keeps making, and it can just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it's right on that animal. With a lion, they don't stay jumped that long. So it's a lot of cold trail and then run for a mile, bang up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Bears can go, I've seen 20-mile chases with bears.
Really?
Yeah.
In one day?
Yeah. It's not a straight line. But that's what the dogs is GPS. If you start a new hunt, they're doing a lot of tracking around and back and over their same ground and things like that. It looks like spaghetti noodles when they make losses, but they can put over 20 miles on a chase.
Do you miss running hounds in places like Maine versus somewhere like Montana or Idaho or out west? You don't?
Nope, not a one for population of bears. Yes. That's the greatest state as a houndsman to go run bears in.
Is Maine?
Yeah.
Really?
A lot of bears.
How come they have so many bears there?
Dude, it's so thick there. Rabbits can jump off the brush and bounce backwards.
Really?
Yeah. But then that lies a problem. You get a lot of bears that like to walk and fight. So what I was getting hired to do was the outfitter, they're running bait systems just like you were talking about. And then you get a lot of bears that get clever to the bait hunters. Yep. Or you get some dumb bait hunters and they're eating candy bars, they're making noise. The bear gets smart and they become just eating bait. And they never get killed for years and years and years. And these guys are just feeding these giant bears.
Yeah.
So they had us come in with hounds, and we strategically took out a bunch of great big bears in that rough country. And it's hard on the dogs running in thick, boggy terrain like that. Especially when it's so thick. You can imagine the dogs are walking a bear, and it's so thick that they can't get around him to like work him. So they're at single filing in, and he turns around and pushes them backwards. And then he just goes on about his merry way. He doesn't have to stop.
Wow.
And then once he does stop, now he's fighting dogs in close, and you have to go in with a hunter that a lot of times you've watched them shoot at the range and things like that, but now you're going to watch them shoot under a lot of pressure in close range, and pretty much your kids are there fighting the bear, and that's your dogs, which you love them so much. And now this man's going to be shooting a weapon in amongst all that. So it can become very, very hairy. And we call that bait up.
Huh.
And you'll walk right in. A lot of times those bears are shot with 10 yards or less.
Wow.
No
kidding.
Yeah, you got to wait for the dogs to break back or push the bear, or him blow the dogs back and then separate himself just a little bit from the dogs and then try to kill him with one shot. Because as soon as the gun goes off, those dogs are 10 foot tall and bulletproof, man. They pow.
Yeah.
Boom.
Oh, man.
And
those dogs, it's so funny how fearless they are.
It's chaos.
Yeah. Total chaos. And yeah, crazy.
Yeah. I love hounds. I get so excited talking about it.
Yeah.
And
I could tell you have to be passionate to be a houndsman.
Yeah.
Like they're a lot of work. You put so much training and time and love and money and effort and everything else into these dogs that every houndsman that I know is like really passionate about being a houndsman. I can't see myself getting into it. First of all, I like dogs that lay at my feet when we're recording podcast episodes like right now. And he's a sissy, man. My daughters have totally sissified this dog. He sleeps on their bed at night, where you can't do that with hounds, really. I don't know. You tell me.
Nah, you can.
You can?
Yeah, mine stay in the house a lot.
Do they?
Yeah, especially all winter. I've got a couple of them that they're pretty much house dogs. Yeah, I take them all summer. I treat them much like house dogs.
Does that affect the way they perform on the mountain, do you think, or no?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all. It's not like we're feeding them gunpowder and beating them so they get mean to fight the animals.
Yeah. and most houndsmen treat their hounds very well. I'm not saying that. That's funny. But it's just a lot of dogs to have and a big commitment. And like my buddy Bradley Damerman, he owns, it's called Idaho Whitetail Guides. It's an outfit down in... Do you know them?
I know Brad.
Oh, you do?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, super good dude. Yeah. But he's like you, and Rob, just really, really passionate about being a houndsman and, having these dogs be in the best shape they could be and as effective as they could be. And it's just a whole different, element to, it's like next level. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So my dad, that's all he will is hound hunt. He used to archery hunt. And that's about it. After that, he went totally to hound hunting because you can't just get into it. You can't be a one-hit wonder in hounds. Yeah. You can't dive into it and be like, I'm going to be a houndsman this year. You have to have a rig. You have to get your dogs in shape. First of all, just getting in shape doesn't mean anything. They have to be able to have some skill in catching game, which it can cost $10,000 nowadays for a good dog.
Wow. Really? Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah. Huh.
6 to 10 for a good one.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Can you get a couple of them and just breed them yourself, or do you have to sign one of those waivers? Oh, I won't breed this dog.
Yeah, a lot of times you do now.
Yeah.
So I'm connected with old time hunting families in West Virginia that they've been hunting hounds since they can remember, and it's kind of tight knit. So we go through puppies, and they stay in our group. I have a puppy right now that. As soon as those pups hit the ground, they were all spoken for.
Wow.
And we don't sell them.
They go that fast.
Yeah. Huh? We got a tight group of guys and we keep the bloodline kind of in there. And it's not really a bloodline. We just breed traits to traits, like good dogs. But we don't do puppy selling, things like that. We kind of keep it in-house.
Keep it in-house and all that. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. How many hounds do you have right now?
That's a good question.
You don't even know?
I've got 8.
You've got 8 at the house?
I've got one I just retired this year, and then I have a 15-year-old dog that he's probably on my neighbor's property right now. I don't have he just wanders loose. I keep waiting for him to pass away, but he keeps going strong.
He just keeps going, huh? It's funny. It's crazy. I had a dog that he passed away about a little over a year ago. No, not quite a year ago, but for 2 years, I was like, how are you not getting any older? He's not aging. He's not anything. And then all of a sudden, it was like a 3-week time period. He went downhill and died. Yeah. He had a stroke, but you'd be proud of him, man. This bear behind me, he treed that bear. He was a freaking yellow lab, and it was on our old property. Yeah. The bear was after our chickens. Trevor was absolutely fearless. Ran that sucker up a tree, and I went out in my pajamas and shot him.
You had a bear dog.
I did. It was bear season too,
right
so
on.
Totally legal. Anyway, gosh dang it, I got off topic there, and then I forgot I had a really good question for you with hounds. Oh, is your wife into that too? Is she into the hound thing, or is she not into it but supportive kind of? Because that's another aspect of owning hounds is it's like a whole family affair.
Yeah, my wife loves it.
Does she?
Yeah, she's our official vet of the family. She's not a vet, but
she could sew them up if a bear gets after them.
She's a stapling machine. They get tore up quite a bit. I mean, just even them acting retarded, fighting each other amongst in the kennel, and just
Yeah.
constant doctoring. That's what she likes to do on them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
She kind of gets a kick out of that.
Yeah,
huh?
she loves that.
Yeah. Not me, man. Neither does my wife. Same dog I was telling you about, Trev, he got himself a face full of porcupine quills while pheasant hunting one night, and we stayed up all night pulling those dang things out.
Yeah, that.
It's never fun. I want to hear this wolf story. And you guys listening are going to get a freaking kick out of this. But walk us through this wolf that stole your gun.
So we finished up with our clients for the year, and we were just running hounds for fun. We took a bunch of young dogs out, and I have some friends. They have some hounds also. And
when you say, not to cut you off, but when you finished up with clients, you're talking lion clients, right? They want to come out and get a mountain lion.
I run a small number of mountain lion clients. That way we can usually try to kill the males in the quota, and I don't have to worry about the quota filling or hurting the mountain lion population or things like that. I don't like to partake in too much female killing.
Yeah. Spotty.
Yeah. I believe there's way higher and then more intelligent people in charge of it than us, and I believe they honestly have the lion quota the way it should be. But there's a lot of backlash and things like that with killing female cats, and I just as soon not be a part of it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So how this takes place is we were just training dogs. We found this female in a canyon. I've caught her 3 or 4 times. When we were going to pick on her a little bit that day, we turned a couple dogs loose, turned a couple more dogs loose and we loaded the track up. For any houndsmen that know what I'm talking about, you can put too many dogs on a track.
Yeah.
And especially too many young dogs, because now they're egotistic and things also. They, like, if they're the fastest dog in your pack, they like that. They feed off of being the best. It's a competition. So,
really? So they like fight?
Not fighting, but they're racing each other down this track. I mean, they're wearing see-through pants, you should say. I mean,
it's funny
to see who's got what it takes, and they're pushing this track harder than what it should be run for the quality of the track. And we don't know it at the time, but they blew the track up and they trashed. They started on a lion, and the dogs, they trashed onto a wolf track, which that's terrible, terrible, terrible as a houndsman. But anyways, let's just forget that we know that happened. So the dogs, they trail up the mountain, they jump their quarry, and they start coming back down off the more snowpack, and they're dropping elevation, which is all characteristics of a lion.
Mm-hmm.
And they bang up tree. So we drive up the canyon, get as close as we can, and we start walking into the tree. There's not a lot of timber in there, and these dogs have been pretty straight all year. They've been doing a really good job for us, but they've been run with older dogs, so they're kind of leading the way for them. We just thought they did extremely good job, and they put enough pressure on this cat that they treat her in some pecker poles, some smaller trees.
Sure.
And so we get in, we're 80 yards from the tree, and it bails out. We think it bails out, and it goes another 150 yards and retrees, which is all still right on par for what should be. We get down there. I'm looking up in this big fir. Seems like lions like the tree and fir trees a lot, and I'm looking up in the tree, and there's nothing in the tree, and all of a sudden I'm start reading the dogs on the ground as I'm getting closer, and they're bayed up. They got this thing caught on the ground, and all of a sudden here comes a 100+ pound wolf out around the corner of a tree, and it's chasing dogs. They're chasing.
Wait. Where were it came out around the corner? You saw the wolf?
Yep. So as I'm walking in, I'm not looking on the ground at all. And the dogs are just barking. I can't really see because it's thick, brush. Usually you can see this yellow lion sitting in a green pine tree from 100 yards away.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking for this lion, and I'm like, dude, there ain't no lion.
Uh-huh.
And I get down in there, and all of a sudden I can physically see the dogs and read how they're barking and what's going on. They're not treed. They're bayed up on the ground and with a wolf. Oh. And it's getting western as can be. Now I am the only one with a handgun. We didn't even have any guns really. We had a handgun just in case we get into some trouble. But no one else had anything. We were just running the cat for fun. and we had no intentions. The last thing you want to do is now kill this wolf also, because it feeds on the dog's energy. So if you even go in there and like the dogs read you, especially young dogs, and if you go in there and you kill this wolf, that's going to reassure them young dogs that this was a good thing. So that is not the first thing that comes to mind. We're trying to yell.
I wouldn't have even thought of that. I would have shot at that wolf. That's a good point, man. Those dogs would have been like, okay, this is my reward. This is what we're looking for.
That confirms what we're trying to do. So that is the last thing. We're yelling. I mean, I'm trying to thrash dogs. We're trying to get them stopped, get a hold of them. And this whole entire time, the wolf's chasing them. They're chasing the wolf. It's like mass chaos. And it gets a couple dogs down. And my buddy's like, listen, you got to kill that wolf. Mm-hmm. And it had a plot dog bit through the chest. And I pull out a handgun. And you can't shoot from far away because there's dogs all around everywhere. This thing. And you can't mess up. So I go in to stick the gun down on its back and shoot straight down into the ground. And I've been on a lot of bait up bears, hundreds of them over the years. So it kind of, I've been in a lot of situations where the dogs have caught Corey on the ground like that. So I'm kind of going into, I know what to do, but I've never had a wolf bait up. So I have no idea how this thing's going to act.
Yeah.
And a second that gun, I don't even know if it touched its back. It touched the hair on its back. It turned around like a rattlesnake dude and snatched a hold of this handgun. And there's 5 dogs and this wolf and me all in this like little circle, and it has a hold of my gun.
And so are you like, is it like a tug of war for the gun kind of thing?
It felt like a tug of war for the gun, but this is like happening so fast that I did have the consciousness. I was like, well, I'll just pull the trigger and shoot this thing through the back of the head. Well, there's dogs back there. Well, I couldn't do that. So it whips the gun out of my hand, and I'll never forget, for like a split second, it looked like you had to look at it into a movie. Here's this wolf with a Glock 20 sticking in its mouth. And I was like, dude, it's got my gun.
Oh, man.
So it drops the gun. And now the gun's laying beside it, and they're all fighting again. And I'm like, no, I got to sack up and go get this gun. So it takes a second. I finally get enough, and I run in there and I get hold of the gun again, and I go to shoot this wolf, and the gun does not go off. And that thing kind of piles me down. I don't know if my feet were trying to go so fast to get the heck out of there, or one of my dogs or something, but I ended up on the ground, and my buddy stomped on the wolf's head, and it was trying to bite at everything. And I did this like little roll out of the way, and I go back in to shoot again. And I'm like, the gun's definitely it, because this is happening so fast. I'm not like looking at the gun like something's not working on the. It's just like chaos.
But something's jacked up on the gun.
So I'm like, the gun's broke. So I flipped the gun back to my buddy, and I was like, fix the gun. And I grabbed some. I'm trying to grab dogs, and the other guy's been grabbing dogs this whole entire time and trying to get the situation de-escalated. And now the gun's broke, so we don't have a gun now at all.
Holy
So it grabs another dog. I don't know what I was thinking. I tried to use a lead strap. I was going to pull this thing's head off of a dog with a lead strap. Well, that wasn't going to work. It bit the lead strap. So I throw the lead strap down. And meanwhile, this is going on in a thicket down along a creek. So it's a moving battle, you should say. I hit it with a log, and it turned around and chased me. It was chaos. I mean,
wow.
As much chaotic things as you could imagine that would happen in that amount of time, it did. We finally got all the dogs caught up, and a lot of times when you're catching those dogs, like they're fighting for their life too.
Yeah.
And when you go to grab one of them, because you can't like, here you go, Joey, come over here. I mean, he ain't coming over. You got to literally snatch that sucker up or dive on him. And when you grab them, they're fighting. So a lot of times they'll turn around, and you've worked for 3 minutes to get a hold of this dog, and all of a sudden you dive on it as it comes by, and it turns around like it's going to bite you because it doesn't know it grabbed hold of it. So you just let go of the dog you just caught.
Wow, man.
And
nobody filmed this, huh?
No.
Oh, can you imagine? So how'd it end?
The wolf went on his merry way, and we went on our merry way.
So you ended up catching all the hounds, and then the wolf was like, "Okay,
it went over there, and
see ya."
It went over there and sat down. And it was like, dude, I'm glad this is over. And I was like, holy cow! We were just all in like amazement, and the wolf trotted off, and we corrected the dogs. We tucked our tails, and we went back to the truck.
Wow, insanity! That is insanity. Yeah. So you recovered the pistol, right?
Yeah.
And I remember you showed it to me, and now I can't remember.
Yeah. So
what was wrong with it?
It had bit right where the polymer goes over top the metal slide internally. And when that wolf bit right there, it popped it off the rail. So it was still attached on the back of the gun, but it was popped off the rail on the front. So it was. Man,
I'm glad it was that, and like it didn't ruin. You know, crazy things happen with guns, and like I'm glad he didn't crack off a shot and it blew your hand off or something. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that the wolf didn't manage to pull the trigger with it in its mouth and, hit you in the leg or something.
Honestly, that's wild.
It's so wild. You're the only dude I know that I've ever personally met that has had a pistol stolen from a wolf and then got chased by a wolf. Like, just wolves. Everybody looks at wolves that are non-hunters or don't live in wolf country or whatever. They see Hollywood. Like, what is that show? My wife and I were just watching it. Oh, it's called 1923.
Yep.
Do you know what show I'm talking about? And this wolf, well, first of all, there's this lion on the front porch, and it's just super mean and totally computerized, right? And then the wolf comes in and breaks into the window, and I don't want to give away the plot if other people haven't watched it yet. But that's just not reality. I don't care how hungry these animals are. That's just not reality, right? And so I think a lot of people get it in their mind that that's how it is. So it's insane, and it really speaks to your commitment to the hounds and your commitment to hunting that you had a pistol stolen from. Did you get that pistol fixed, by the way?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we took a pocket knife and a Dremel to it.
You should have just left it like as is and put it on the wall or something. Of course, then you have to buy a different one, which sucks.
Yeah, so that story doesn't have a very good ending. I lost the gun.
Oh, you did?
I ended up losing it like 5 days later. I was with Rob and Jim Webley, and we treated a mountain lion over in Libby and 2 juveniles. And we had a gentleman with us, and one of the juveniles bailed out of the tree, and the dogs took off after it down into the creek, and Jim and I went running down over the mountain like a bunch of Indians, and I lost my handgun, jumping from rocks into blowdowns.
Are you sure the mountain lion didn't steal it on his way out?
I'm 100%, because we took a metal detector back up. We caught the mountain lion. Yeah. We took a metal detector up and we looked for it. There was just too much snow.
No kidding.
I should be able to find it because I have the track line still, but yeah, she's gone.
Holy cow, man!
Only weapon I've ever lost, and I loved that gun. It had more sentimental value than any other weapon I've ever owned.
So okay, I'm gonna commit right now. When you're ready to go find that gun, I will help you.
Okay,
I will go with you, and we'll go because you have to get that gun back.
Yeah, I want the gun back as a keepsake, but I'm not going to use it in the woods anymore. I pondered on it, and I think that gun is lost for a reason. I get into a lot of dumb situations, spending a lot of time in the woods up here, and I'm worried that gun might have had something wrong with it. And I did. I shot 2 clips through it before I put it back into use, but it could break at any time, you know what I mean, and leave me hanging, or put our lives in jeopardy. So it's just $600. I'll go get another one.
What kind of gun was it? What
Glock 20.
It was a Glock 20?
Yeah.
I can't talk straight.
Yeah.
Wow, that is fascinating, man. I mean, I'm trying to picture in my head a wolf turning around and snatching a pistol out of my hand. He didn't get your fingers or anything, huh?
No, and I run my trigger finger along like everybody does
straight.
Yeah, and I can send you the pictures of it that the one canine must have slid down the edge of my finger. I don't know how it didn't hit it. From just where you would place your hand on the rail of the gun, it just missed my finger.
Wow.
So my father, he's had a gun taken off of him by a black bear, and one of my guides also.
Yeah. Interesting.
But I'm the first with a wolf. I'm not proud of it at all.
I would be. I'd be totally. That's basically you went fisticuffs with 100-pound wolf. I mean, come on, that's cool.
So I went fisticuff with a lion that also last year, and that was more intense than even the wolf.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, that lion meant business. He was very serious.
And was that because you had him trapped up a tree or trapped somewhere he wasn't up a tree or?
I had his rear axles disabled.
Oh, okay. So he was kind of backed into a corner.
Oh, yep. And he was fighting for his life, and so were we.
Yeah. Wow. Tell me, let's expand on this one. Since we're on the Josh getting in fist fights with wild predators, let's keep it going.
So we catch this lion. Well, we catch a lion earlier that day, and we killed it, and we were heading out of the mountains. And it was getting late in the day, and I found another mountain lion track, a nice big male track. So everybody's wanting to go to Minnie's and eat because they're soaking wet from being in the brush. I want to make my young dogs powerhouses, so you're going to turn loose on every mountain lion track you can find. So I turn a few dogs loose on it, much to they're not very happy about it. Well, anyways, the dogs, they trail up over the mountain and they go jumped, and they go about 4 or 5 miles, and they tree just below a road, not very far, in which we are so fortunate because there is no road systems below us. And it is going to be a very long night if the dogs drop off the canyon. I mean, a very long night. A lot of footwork. So I get in there first, and I'm not wanting to kill a mountain lion at all. We'd already finished with our clients. I'm running for fun or friends that want to fill tags, stuff like that. And I get in, I confirm that we got a nice lion in the tree, and bring some artillery down here. This is a lion that we'd like to harvest.
Just because of size?
Yeah, it's a nice, big, mature male. Yeah. I mean, he's got big shoulders on him.
Bigger than mine?
About same size cat.
Dang it.
I think maybe a little bit older cat.
No, don't tell me that.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Your cat's beautiful.
I'm totally kidding.
No, honestly, anytime you get into that 140 range of toms, that's a nice animal.
Yeah, I'm super proud of him.
Yeah,
but anyway,
so there's 3 dogs on the tree in this lion. And I have one young dog that she's not sold that the lion's in a tree, and she's not honoring the other dogs. So she's we call it bunny hunting. She's searching for that lion track, still being on its feet, and it's really in a tree. She's not committed to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just
I'm going to have all the houndsman lingo down by the time
you'll be down.
Yeah, man.
So we're there in this. So I have 4 dogs loose, 3 are at the tree, 1's bunny hunting around, and now we're waiting on someone to come down here and kill this lion, and it's not sitting very pretty. It's wanting to move around in the tree. And I believe that it can see people coming off the hill above us, and that it starts getting very, very restless in the tree. And if it jumps out of this tree and continues off the mountain, like I said, it's going to be a super late night, and it's already probably 4:30. So the lion comes down the limbs on the tree, and I decided I'm just going to kill it with a handgun since I had a tag.
Yeah.
So it comes down about 4 feet, 5 feet above my hands extended. And I pop this lion through the sternum up into its backbone, falls out of the tree, dead, peering dead. I'm like, great. And as soon as that gun goes off, here comes that young dog that was bunny hunting, comes running down and goes to wooling that mountain lion on the ground. Well, that mountain lion is definitely not dead.
Oh, no.
And it snatches that dog up, and a fight is commenced. Now I'm trying to get down there to finish this lion off, and I've got hounds that I got on a lead strap with me. And if there's other houndsmen listening to this, you could pick this story clear apart, and by all means, that's fine. When you hunt a lot, crazy things happen, and I'm not too proud to admit when we do dumb. I just
like the fact, I like when people are authentic enough to have the humility to explain it.
Yeah.
Because the people that don't, they're lying.
Yeah.
They're not saying a lie. They're lying by not saying the truth.
Yeah, that's why the wolf thing, no, not many houndsmen would admit they're running wolves with dogs.
Well, you weren't purposely trying to run the...
No, but you just, it's your pride on your dogs and things like that. You don't want to ever admit that they do wrong. They're dogs and they do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So anyways, they dogs pull me down and they pull me off my feet while I'm trying to get down there a matter of 15, 20 feet, 20 yards to this lion that's fighting this young dog on the ground. And they pulled the lead strap about out of my hands, and now I'm not willing to get down there and have dogs on a lead strap and trying to do this. And I can't tie him up because I don't have enough time. I'm worried about this young dog getting killed. So I click him loose, and I run down there, and I take off, and I slide by accident, like I lose my footing, and I slide into this pile of dogs fighting a lion. And now we're all heading down over the mountain in this ball of fight.
Wow.
And my left thigh was touching the lion's side as we slid down over the hill that he coated my pants with his blood. And he was biting at everything that was possibly to bite at, and I was kicking and screaming like a little girl. He bit a hold of the back of my Kennetrek boot and pierced through the leather and the back of the sole.
You're kidding.
And bit the Stone Glacier Kennetrek off my left leg. And
Jeez, man.
yeah. And I couldn't shoot him as we're sliding down the hill because if I'd extended my hands, I would have probably touched him in the end of the nose with the gun. And dogs were all over him, and he's all over them and biting at everything. And I was squealing like a little girl. Finally, I got to my feet, and they got him stopped down there, and I got the lion finished off. But yeah.
Jeez. Dude.
They fight with the tenacity, which, I mean, if you're fighting for your life, I figure if I was a lion and someone put me in a tree, you better get ready for some stitches and methylate because I'm taking a couple of you with me.
I was worried about, I was not worried about that with my lion. I was worried about having my daughter because that lion, almost straight up in the tree is 30 feet from my daughter. And this thing outweighs my daughter. And so I'm right behind her and I'm like, man, if this thing comes down, I'm going to throw it in a headlock and I'm going to get my ass kicked, but I'm going to try.
So that's a weird thing. A lion,
it rarely happens.
Yeah, they don't really they won't touch you.
Yeah, it has to be this circumstantial thing that somehow you guys made contact. It's not the lion's never really going to be aggressive from what I've seen, and you know way more about that than I do. But also, you're the only person that's fist fought a couple of predators in the area. What would you rather fight at this point, a wolf or a mountain lion?
I'd rather fight a wolf.
Me too.
Yeah, lions and bears, they got claws and teeth, and they know how to use both of them.
Yeah. I'd rather just fight a snowshoe hare. I think that's kind of where my level's at this point.
I believe a bear has more tenacity than anything ever when they're fighting for their life.
A bear, out of all the animals that I've hunted over the years, a bear seems to be the most rubberized against bullets out of any animal. It's like they could just really soak up lead and just keep going. It's truly amazing. My buddy Leon, he owns Clark Fork Outfitters over in Idaho.
Yep.
He got bit pretty good by a black bear that he thought was dead when he came up on it. And it jumped up and snatched him, but luckily he was kind of ready for it. But anyway, so yeah, it's these are incredible stories, man. Yeah. I love hearing stuff like this.
And
you're a mountain man.
I guess I'm just out there trying to live a life close to nature, man. That's every day that I can be in the woods. I love it.
What does hunting mean to you?
Everything. It's as natural as breathing air. And especially as we're telling these hound stories and people are listening to them, maybe you might draw a bad conclusion or you might have different thoughts on hound hunting that we're using to pursue an animal. It's unhumane. We've been doing this for, let's just say scientific numbers, tens of thousands of years. We've been hunting with dogs, and that is as much natural as breeding or breathing air. Hunting and using a dog, and I don't know, it just does something internally to you. It's very natural to hunt with a dog. I mean, just the same as your dog everybody wants to have a dog, and when you hunt with a dog, it just enhances it. I don't know. It just is a complete package. It's a natural feeling.
This is the first dog I've ever owned that hasn't hunted in my adult life. You know, they've all been, I've always had bird dogs, you know, but he is a bird dog, but he's so spoiled, man. Spoiled dogs, they're not great chasing birds. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. So
yeah, that I've never did any bird hunting or things like that. It's only been big game hounds.
Yeah. Well, and houndsman, how do you say that? Like hounding? Like if you're out hounding, that's different than taking like a pheasant dog, like a German short hair or something out in the pheasant fields, you know, or a lab out chasing ducks.
Yeah. I think they should be called working dogs more than a hunting dog. I mean, because you don't have to actually take to kill the animal to enjoy working the dog.
Yeah.
And I would just as soon, I love to train. I've been catching mountain lions here recently the last couple of weeks. The weather's been crappy, but Rob and I caught a couple 2 weeks ago, and we just enjoy working those dogs, and that's the fun of it.
And importantly to your point of just enjoy working the dogs, that's what they live for.
Oh, dude.
I have never seen dogs so happy as when those dogs, it was yours and Rob's, got on that track of that lion that I ended up shooting.
Yeah.
They were so happy. I mean, that's what they live for. So it's cool that you guys take time out of your life to give them that chase and allow them to do what they were born to do, because that's what satisfies their soul, just like hunting satisfies your soul and my soul. You know, everything's so connected, you know, and that's proof. Like, I hear a lot of people ragging on houndsmen because, they mistreat their dogs and the dogs have a terrible life or whatever. You've never been around a houndsman if you think that. You've never been around, nobody cares about their dogs like a houndsman does. And you guys just doing that and taking time out of season and not, it's not even out of season, but your tags are filled and going out and just train animals for the sake of getting the dogs trained, and they just get so much enjoyment out of it. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a way you can interact a lot with wildlife. You get to see so many different things. Mm-hmm. You get to follow animals, a dog through the woods that's hunting a predator, a lion. So people that love the mule deer hunt, dude, you need to go get with your local houndsman. And the best mule deer hunter is a mountain lion. So if you want to go find the best mule deer hunting spots, go follow this pack of hunting dogs on the lion country. I mean, and they will show you every glassing knob, every mule deer yard, every honey hole that you could ever imagine, where you wouldn't hike naturally into there. And a houndsman's going to follow his dogs to the depths of hell if that's where they go.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, this is a great conversation.
Yeah.
I can keep going with this. Seriously, I'm pretty tickled about those stories. I just keep like thinking back to the wolf snitch and the pistol. I didn't know that's how it happened. I purposely have not listened to that story when you've told it to other people, because I knew I wanted to get you on the show to talk about it, and I wouldn't be as curious about it. So I appreciate you sharing all that.
Yeah. Everybody wants to test their manhood. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I listen to a bunch of mountain man books. I listen to as many Audible books on it, and like the adventure that those guys had. I mean, that's why I think we go as hunters. We're trying to get some tiny little bit of that in today's world, and you can test your manner in these mountains, and you have to find rugged places. And this area where we live is one of the most rugged places I've ever been. And like Jim was talking about, all the just the search and rescue stories that have happened the last couple of years.
Yeah.
The wild's still here, and it can still get you in a lot of trouble. And it's hard to find places in today's world like that.
Yep. Truer words cannot be, I don't know, replicated. It's so true. So, well, I appreciate you joining me, man. I know I've kept you a little longer than I told you I would. Why don't we kind of round this out by, I don't know if you have like an elevator pitch, or tell everybody about Waypoint Outfitters, what they can expect. Let's say they book an elk hunt with you. the lodge or the accommodations or whatever you want to share with folks that might be interested. And I know you're all booked up for this year, but time to start looking at 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, we don't look to book a lot of numbers.
Excuse me.
We're looking for that small niche of guys that are willing to go die on the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to show you that experience. If you're wanting babysat and you want to ride around the truck, go get you a Uber. That's not going to be us.
Uber?
Yep, go get you a Uber. We're going to give you blisters and sore shoulders from a backpack. I'm going to give you a mountain adventure, and you can go test yourself as a man and see what kind of onion you are. Everybody gets peeled apart. Whether you're what kind of onion you are, that's what you can come and try to figure out.
Absolutely. And for you listening, I can attest, Josh is an absolute mountain goat. He's an animal. This is a guy that does not quit on the mountain, and I wish I had half the stamina that you do.
I have quit on the mountain before. I am not proud of that story, but I have.
Well, that's because what bit you this time? A grizzly bear or
a 136-pound backpack that was junk.
Yeah, that'll do it, man. So everybody check out MontanaOutfittersInc.com for Waypoint. You can just Google Waypoint Outfitters or find the Instagram page. I like your Instagram page, man, because which, by the way, folks, is at Waypoint Outfitters Inc. But I like it because you have all the pictures of the lions on there, and you as you scroll down, it just kind of takes you back through the seasons, mule deer, elk, you name it.
Good old grip and grins.
Oh yeah, the good old grip and grins. But this is our life. This is what we do. This is our story. I like that kind of stuff for me.
Yeah.
PETA can go suck an egg.
We're hunters.
We are hunters, and that's how we share our story. Like you said earlier, it's the modern day version of the wall drawings of the animals that the Indians would put on the walls. I've been to a lot of those areas too, by the way, and that's exactly what they were doing. They were sharing a story. So,
yeah, yep. So we're gonna close her out, and this would be like, I come up with a little quote. Conservation is our legacy, and hunters are our names. And that is a good thing to live by. And if everybody can go into the woods and just share that with everyone.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's so true, man. I really say that one more time. Conservation is our legacy.
Hunters are our names.
Hunters are our names. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Well, folks, check it out. Thanks a bunch, Josh, for joining me.
Thank you, Jim.
We're going to have to totally do this again. I feel like we just kind of,
we bing-banged around everywhere.
We bing-banged, exactly. So maybe next time we'll dive a little deeper into something more specific, but I'm glad we met. I'm glad I can call you a friend, man. So
same here.
Thanks for joining me. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I just want to quickly say thank you to Leupold Optics, Vantage Point Archery, Barnes Bullets, and Silencer Central. And by the way, turkey season is right around the corner, guys. Jump on PhelpsGameCalls.com and get your turkey calls. That Black Bat is what I've been smoking turkeys with for a long time. It's a great read. And you can use promo code Huntsman10 for 10% off at checkout. And I'd like to welcome Browning, the X-Bolt series, to the show. More on that down the road, but thanks a bunch for tuning in, guys. Again, Waypoint Outfitters here in Northwest Montana. Definitely have a look if you are interested in booking a hunt for 2026 and beyond. Would highly recommend. Thanks, guys. We'll see you. You made it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Western Huntsman and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.